How did I meet Neil? Well, I was a precocious 15-year-old. Neil said that I was 15 and a half. That's okay, because he was a little bit older, like 7.5 years older. But I tagged along on the church young adult activities because I had two older brothers. So one day we were going on a swim party and stopped at the church to gather, and there was this really cute guy that I asked to come along with us.
In 1947, after World War II, I was attending at USC. I went to church where my parents lived in North Hollywood, and there was this cute girl giving a talk, and I was impressed. Norma was 15 years old, and we went on a hayride on other group activities such as beach outings and dances. Then I went on mission to Belgium. When I returned in 1951, I was 27 and Norma was 19.
We really maybe only had 2 dates, maybe none, I'm not sure. But then he went away to Belgium to be a missionary, and I wrote to him. And when he returned, still precocious, but by now 19, I went to his house and invited him to play tennis, and he did. Well, I was asked how Neil proposed, but I have to admit, I really don't remember. What I do remember was waking up my parents and saying, "I'm going to marry Neil." And they just looked at each other in surprise.
I had the ring, and she said yes.
Okay, well, Neil was then recalled into the service, and he was stationed in Hawaii. We were engaged, so he said, "If I send you a ticket, will you come?" And I did. Well, there was nobody there, just us, but we couldn't get married right away because I wasn't 20 years old, and that was the rule in Hawaii. So I had to send back and get my parents to sign that it was okay for me to get married. Okay, well, while I was waiting, I got to stay at the Fort DeRussy housing for dependents who were visiting, and I had such a good time that I wasn't sure I wanted to marry anyone. I was thinking that'd be just nice to stay here. But we did get married, and we lived happily ever after. No, I'm sorry.
Married on Hawaii on September 29, 1951. No family or friends attending our marriage.
Well, we did get married in the Mormon temple there, all alone without anyone. But 50 years later, we invited everyone to help us celebrate this wedding. So that was our reception. It took 50 years. Well, we ended up having 6 kids, but we had a hard time getting there in the beginning because I had miscarriages. And then when we had I had an operation, and we had 1 child. And I thought, here, we got it figured out. Well, it was 5 years later we had another one. And then after that, we ended up having 6 children. And we loved having these babies, although for me it was really hard. But we didn't really understand how to be parents of teenagers. And we had 4 of the 6 who gave us a run for our money. And now all 6 still love us, or love us finally, and even appreciate us. And the big thing I think about our children is that they like each other. They enjoy being together. And they like us too, and some of them, most of them, even love us now.
Norma's a good cook, and we love to eat, and all our children live to eat here.
Well, we did a lot of crazy things.
One thing about Norma is adventure, and she loves to go finding out, doing things, and spontaneous things. She's a good listener, and she's a teacher.
Well, one of the crazy things we did was we had 4 children, were expecting number 5. But Neil wanted to go to school for a sabbatical leave. So we had the baby induced and went home and packed and then left. And that was what we did. We just did it. Well, I was asked to tell a crazy thing, or the craziest thing that Neil ever did. Some of the crazy things were just following along with my crazy ideas, but one that came to me just this morning was that he wanted to do something with our second son named Chris, and he decided that they should dig out the floor of the garage and make a bomb shelter. Well, he didn't have a permit, he didn't have a plan. He did have a shovel, 2 shovels, one for him and our son, and there was nothing I could do or say to dissuade him. An earlier trip to France without any children, and Neil went to the Sorbonne University, and I worked like 3 different jobs, and we wanted to go to the south of France. And someone said, well, you could just hitchhike. So we did, except when we got out there to hitchhike, I thought, what am I doing? But we did. We made it, and we got all the way down to the south of France. And since one of my jobs, or our jobs, was teaching French to a banker and his wife, they volunteered to drive us back in their chauffeured limousine. Well, Neil always had a book to read, even the night before we were to get married. And I wanted to walk on the beach, and he wanted to finish his book. That told me something about the rest of our life together, because Neil always had a book, always had a pencil, always had paper, and he would read so many books every year. And his writings fill notebook after notebook after notebook. Neil was interested in anything and everything. And some of these habits were annoying, very annoying. But when Neil had a stroke, and I began to look at all of his interests in so many things, and all of his writings, and all of his books, then I really appreciated that he was a scholar who had wide range of interests and abilities. I was really blessed that Neil always trusted me There were times when I was with other men, and even more recently where I've gone to lunch with men from the video club. And even the time when an old boyfriend came to visit, he trusted me implicitly and never asked me about anything about the other guys that were attracted to his wife. But he also supported everything I did. I was involved in a lot of things, and he never held me back. I always knew he had my back.
We stuck it out through the good times and the bad times for 66 years, and I'm glad we did. Wow!
A lot. We just did it. Okay.